Yugi Muto versus Ketchum. YouTube's Death Battle made a death battle between the main characters of the Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon franchises. Yugi possessed every single card he used throughout his entire series. Ash had access to the same, all the Pokemon he caught on his entire adventure. Spoilers! Go and watch the original video first because I'll leave a link down below and I'm going to spoil it right now. Ready, set. The winner of the death battle was Yugi, which I do personally agree with. The reasons why I'll discuss at the end, but for the time being, it made me wonder. With how powerful some of Yugi's cards are, and with how many powerful Pokemon Ash has, could the outcome have gone a different way? Did Yugi hold back? Could Ash have fought more tactfully? We won't know unless we jump into the death battle. Before the death battle begins, the rules state combatants have no prior knowledge of each other, moral restraints about killing are removed so characters can go all out, and combatants fight at their maximum potential. And so, the death battle begins, and we see both Yugi and Ash's ace monsters, Dark Magician and Pikachu. They clash. Pikachu attacks first, using its Iron Tail attack on the Dark Magician. Dark Magician successfully blocks it, and in response uses a flurry of dark magic attacks against Pikachu. Pikachu, using its superior agility, dodges all but the final attack. Pikachu takes the first damage of the match, albeit only a small amount. Now, if you want to get a benchmark for how strong each of these monsters are in respective of their own series and how they probably match up with each other, well, this is kind of how they stack up. End of series Pikachu is probably like a level 90, level 100 Pokemon. So it's very, very strong. Dark Magician, by Yu-Gi-Oh! Standards, is a 2500 attack monster, which would be considered strong. Strong in a sense is, it's okay, it's strong. It's not very strong. It's not weak, it's just strong. Of the two monsters, I would say Pikachu on its own is superior in strength. In a one-on-one battle, if this is all this fight came down to, I do think Pikachu would win. Dark Magician requires a lot of other cards to help facilitate it to be stronger, but in a one-on-one, Pikachu is stronger, and we'll find out a little bit why in a minute. We pan out and we see the opening field roster. Ash's field consists of the electric-type Pokemon Pikachu, the fighting steel-type Lucario, the grass-type Sceptile, and the ground-dark-type Crocodile. Yugi's field consists of the spellcaster-type Dark Magician, the warrior-type monsters Buster Blader and Celtic Guardian, and the rock-type Giant Soldier of Stone. In terms of who has the better field at the two, well, Ash has the much more diverse field, which makes sense. Ash comes from a world where type advantages and weaknesses are a big thing. Yugi's world currently doesn't have such a thing, which makes me realize if type advantages and disadvantage do exist in this battle, Ash technically has the advantage here. If he summons the right monsters to counter certain Yu-Gi-Oh! Card types, he could be dealing double damage to some of Yugi's monsters while also taking half damage and maybe even completely nullifying some attacks with certain monsters. For instance, looking at the field, Lucario, Crocodile, and Sceptile should clap Giant Soldier of Stone since it's a rock type. Since grass, ground, fighting, and steel all deal double damage to it. Buster Blader and Celtic Guardian, however, are warriors, which you would consider as fighting types. So they are effective against dark and steel types, which means they should deal double damage to Lucario and Crocodile. I will reiterate, type advantages may or may not be a thing in this battle, but it's definitely something worth considering. Yugi powers up his two warriors with two of his equipped spells, Lightning Blade and Excalibur. He then sets his Dimension Sphinx trap face down on the field. Now, if we look at what these equipped spell cards are doing, we can see what kind of boost these monsters are getting. Lightning Blade increases the attack of the equipped monster by 800 attack and causes water monsters on the field to lose 500 attack. In terms of this battle, since this card was equipped to Buster Blader, it is now 30% stronger at 3400 attack points. Ash doesn't have any water Pokemon out, so none of them are weakened. Also, keep in mind, Buster Blader has the unique innate ability that if there is a Dragon-type monster on the opponent's side of the field or in their grave, it gains a 500 attack increase. Currently there are none, so it doesn't really matter, but this monster is going to stick around nearly for the entire battle, so every time you see Ash summon any kind of dragon monster and one of those dragon monsters go to the grave, technically this monster should be rising in strength, getting stronger and stronger, so keep that in mind. Celtic Guardian being equipped with Excalibur, this card doubles the equipped monster's attack, but while it's equipped, you must skip your draw phase each turn. If you draw a card another way, this card destroys itself. So Celtic Guardian has gone from a 1400 attack to a 2800 attack point monster, making it essentially a little bit stronger than the Dark Magician, which is strong. But keep in mind that restriction, not being able to draw cards, and if you do draw a card outside of your standard draw phase, this card just removes itself from the field. We need to keep that in mind. So really, Yugi shouldn't be able to add any new cards to his hand. If he does, Excalibur should go to the grave and this monster should be significantly weakened. I want to see if that is still applied, so we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. But now, that makes me wonder, as a counter to these equip spells, does Ash have any Pokemon that know the move Thief or Trick? He could use those abilities to steal Yugi's equip spells to weaken them and boost his own monsters, since these abilities steal a target's held item. This would have been an interesting little bit of a tech ability that Ash could have used against Yugi. Unfortunately, to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't have any Pokemon that knows one of these two moves, so this was unavailable to him. Honestly, from what I've seen with Ash, he doesn't tend to run very many like status effect abilities and like, you know, when they put abilities on the field to do like buffer effects and stuff. He doesn't rely on that too much, which is something to see throughout the course of this battle. Maybe a bit more versatility with some of his other things might have helped him with the battle, but we'll see. Anyway, everyone battles. Buster Blader battles Sceptile. Fighting versus grass type means no type advantages. It's a fair fight. Celtic Guardian fights Lucario. Fighting versus fighting steel type. Celtic Guardian technically has the advantage and should deal double damage as fighting is super effective against steel. Giant Soldier of Stone versus Crocodile is a rock versus dark ground battle. Crocodile has the advantage and should deal double damage as ground is super effective against rock. Finally, we have Dark Magician battling Pikachu. Dark type versus electric type. No type advantages here. Overall, we have two even fights, one in favor of Yugi and one in favor of Ash. So, completely fair fight here. Pikachu manages to get the best of Dark Magician with Thunderbolt, but Yugi was prepared for this and activates his set trap, Dimension Sphinx. This card's effect makes it so when one of Yugi's monsters is attacked by a monster with higher attack, now the opponent takes damage equal to the difference in attack points between the two battling monsters. Before the difference in damage can be dealt directly to Ash, Crocodile blocks the attack, meaning Ash doesn't take any damage. Crocodile faints as a result. To me, Yugi using this card against Ash's Pikachu with his Dark Magician on the field confirms 100% Pikachu is stronger than Dark Magician, since this card can only be activated in response to a superior attack. This is further confirmed by the fact Dark Magician is destroyed as a result of the battle. Dimension Sphinx is also removed since the monster it was used in conjunction with left the field. Now, this is a good time to bring up an interesting question. Yu-Gi-Oh characters have to take horrific monster attacks all the time. We've had Yugi tanking the Winged Dragon of Ra attack. We have Marek tanking Fist of Fate from Obelisk the Tormentor. Could Ash equally tank the same amount of damage that Yu-Gi-Oh characters take? In a sense, you can look at it this way. Yugi's used to this kind of thing. That's why he has 4,000 life points. That's how much like physical damage from monsters he can take until he kind of claps out. Ash, on the other hand, since he doesn't have life points, he's got as much of it as a human can take on its own. If he's attacked once brutally enough, he's kind of defeated regardless of how much damage it is. But Ash has willpower. I imagine he'd be able to stand up if he's hurt enough, but not enough to completely finish him. So yeah, I think that's kind of how that works in this battle. Anyway, we move into the second phase of the battle.
Good thing we brought them all, right, Pikachu?
What do you mean, them all?
Ash brings out a huge chunk of his Pokemon roster, with the big one being his iconic Charizard. Immediately after being summoned, it attacks Yugi's Giant Soldier of Stone. It deals piercing battle damage. Yugi takes the first physical damage of the battle. Now we actually can look at the science of this in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh mechanics. Giant Soldier of Stone has 2,000 defense points. Yugi took 1,800 damage from this battle. Ergo, Charizard translated to Yu-Gi-Oh is a 3,800 attack point monster, which is a very impressive amount of attack points for a Yu-Gi-Oh card. As well, with the fact that it didn't destroy Giant Soldier of Stone, yet still did piercing battle damage, it must have a piercing battle damage effect. Now you might be wondering, well, shouldn't Giant Soldier of Stone have actually defended something here? It's a very high defense point monster. Well, this is where we can actually go into a little bit of type advantage that might be being applied here, which does apply for the original series of Yu-Gi-Oh! And does apply for, I guess, Pokemon as well. You see, the reason why Charizard won this battle is because in old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Before the official rules, think Duelist Kingdom, flying monsters had a type advantage over ground monsters. Giant Soldier of Stone, a ground monster, couldn't do anything against the fire flying type Charizard. In response to Ash's arsenal, Yugi summons the rock types Alpha, Beta, and Gamma, the Magnet Warriors, the warrior types Queens, King, and Jax Knight, along with Gaia the Fierce Knight. The fiend types summon Skull and Baphomet. The dragon types Curse of Dragon, Winged Dragon Guardian the Fortress, and Gandora the Dragon of Destruction. He also brings out the spellcaster type Magician of Black Chaos, and of course Kuribo and his brothers. The fact that Yugi brought out the Kuribo brothers does solidify the fact that Yugi has access to his non-manga official continuity cards, so stuff in the anime which happened in filler series, but the anime is its own continuity, separate to the manga, but so it's technically all official, which obviously Death Battle does consider. So that does mean that Yugi should technically have access to the legendary dragons. I'll talk more about them later. But for now, Yugi here lays the groundwork for his eventual victory. He sets his Magic Cylinder Trap card face down. This card will essentially disappear for the majority of the battle, and then we'll remember it a little bit later and we'll be reminded it's there. But this is very much in Yugi's sort of arsenal of moves. He will always set up something for a later pan down the line. You've done all this, but I was prepared for this, so I'm going to reveal my trap card. Magic Cylinder has the ability to redirect an attack right back at the opponent. In the anime, it specifically needs magicians on the field, which I think this version is sort of sticking to. Yugi will need the dark magicians on the field in order to use this ability. So yeah, it's cool. All the way back here in this match, the setup for the victory has been done. Yami Yugi won't be around to pull this off, but he's left it for his partner, which we'll get to a little bit later. And just before we jump into all this battling, I do want to point out that Yugi's dual disc only has 5 monster zones and 5 spell and trap zones. Meaning, if you want to be really technical, Yugi should only be able to get out 5 monsters and use 5 spell or trap cards at a time, assuming he can just draw whenever he wants. However, Yugi does have the ability to summon physical cards without a dual disc, so he can just bring them straight to the field. So I assume if he's breaking the 5 monsters on the field limit, he's just summoning them physically, because he has the ability to make the cards tangible due to him having shadow magic and things like that. Anyway, Gandora uses its Boundless Giga Rays effect, which allows it to destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, and for each one destroyed, it gains 300 attack points. This ability initially wipes out a big chunk of the 30 Tauruses that Ash summoned. Bulbasaur and Squirtle managed to sneak past and attack. Incineroar bodies the Celtic Guardian, which you will note has lost Excalibur since Yugi has since drawn cards outside of his draw phase. Mystic Elf just stands there and witnesses a murder and does nothing, which kind of makes sense. She's not very strong. She actually has an ability in the anime to power up other monsters. Otherwise, she's just a normal monster with high defense points, but yeah, she didn't do a lot here. During this battle, we also have a bunch of blink and you'll miss it moments. The best one, of course, being Oshawott simping over Silent Magician, which is completely understandable. She is fine. I don't blame him. We have Blackluster Soldier and Arcana Knight Joker dueling Sir Farfetch'd. Silverfang facing off against Lycanroc. We see Ash's Gliscor, Noivern, Snivy, and Melmetal all ready for battle. Red Eyes Black Dragon dueling Dragonite in an aerial battle. Gibble watching along with Pot of Greed and Time Wizard doing pretty much nothing. Now, if you wondered, Time Wizard, Red Eyes Black Dragon, those are Joey's card. What's all that about? Well, Time Wizard was originally Yugi's card. He gave it to Joey. Red Eyes Black Dragon was originally Joey's, but he gave it to Yugi for the Battle City. Technically, Yugi won it off somebody else, and he let him keep it for a bit, but these make sense to be a part of his repertoire kind of thing, so it's fine. However, I do want to note something about that Time Wizard on the field. That Time Wizard is a devastating monster. It has the ability to just destroy all monsters on the opponent's side of the field. However, it also has the same ability to destroy all monsters on the user's side of the field. What determines this? A 50-50 coin flip. So Should Yugi have used this move in this battle? No, only as like a last-ditch effort kind of thing. But other than that, yeah, I'm glad Time Wizard never used its ability here. Also, the audacity of Yugi not telling the audience what Pot of Greed does here is poor form. It, of course, lets you... Now, props to Ash getting his hands dirty in this battle by riding on the back of Charizard, who is raining down Hellfire while Gandora is still nuking the field and growing ever stronger with each monster it destroys. Ash moves on the offensive and Mega Evolves his Lucario. It easily dodges out the way of a Kuribo that at first I thought was using Detonate, but it just looks like it got blasted from the sky by Charizard. Lucario Mega Evolves. Lucario uses its Aura Sphere, which is a damage-inflicting special move that always hits. And hit it does. It destroys not only Gandora, but another powerful monster, Blackluster Soldier, who was trying to protect Gandora from the attack. Theoretically, Mega Lucario is a very powerful monster. The fact that it was able to destroy not only a 3,000 attack Blackluster Soldier, but also the Gandora Dragon of Destruction, that's... Let's just say it destroyed 15 Tauroses, maybe one or two other monsters. Let's just call it that. That means that Lucario is at minimum, at the moment, Mega Evolved and everything, a 6,000 plus attack monster, which is insanely powerful. So very strong. At this moment, Pikachu tries to do some direct damage to Yugi. However, Yugi has some of his own innate power. He uses his Millennium Puzzle to protect him from physical harm. Now, Yugi doesn't use magic very often throughout the course of the series. He does every now and then when he absolutely has to. The main purpose of it is to make sure duels are fair. Shadow magic, you can punish people if they try to cheat in duels. He can defend himself from physical attacks, and it also keeps him pretty sturdy. He can do a couple other things, but yes, Yugi can create a barrier. We see it in his duel against Panic, so we know that this can be done. So to get through to Yugi, you've got to catch him off guard, but let's see if Ash can do it. As well, many of you may say, wait a minute, can't Yugi just go over to Ash and just Mind Crush him, an ability he has just to shatter someone's brain? No, Mind Crush can only be used on someone that has basically evil in their heart. You shatter that kind of part of them so they can rebuild themselves into kind of a better person version of themselves. Ash isn't evil. I don't think he's ever been evil in his entire life. Does Ash ever have like an evil spree or turned evil? Most enemies have that. I don't think he ever did. So yeah, he can't Mind Crush Ash. That's not on the cards. Back to the death battle. Infernape, Lucario, and Sceptile combine their attacks together and get tanked by a single Kuribo. Now, some of you might be saying, what? These are three powerful Pokemon. This 300 attack point monster can stop all three of their attacks together? Yes, yes it can. Kuribo's one and only ability is that it can negate as much damage dealt to you in a single instance. And that is what it did there. So that is lore accurate. And if we look at the Pokemon that are attacking, this could translate to 10,000 plus attack points. So nice one, Kuribo. Now, Summon Skull managed to take down Charizard. Just like how the flying type Charizard had an advantage over the ground type Giant Soldier of Stone, Summon Skull with its electric based attack is super effective against the flying type Charizard. And here is where we move into the third phase of the battle. Solgaleo makes its way onto the field. Now, Solgaleo is a legendary Pokemon. It's a Psychic Steel type and is known as the beast that devours the sun. The reason why it's named this is because it can summon wormholes and radiate such intense light, it can make the middle of the night appear as daytime. Essentially, Solgaleo is wielding the power of the sun. So, with this monster on the field, Ash has the biggest threats. And I will say, if Solgaleo and Ash weren't too busy aura farming, striking that pose, they probably should have taken this brief moment to attack Atem if he isn't safeguarded, warp over to him, and maybe interrupt his next play. Because, unfortunately, Yugi counters Ash's legendary monster with one of his own. He summons one of the three most powerful cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters world, the Egyptian god card, Slifer the Sky Dragon. With two consecutive attacks, he wipes out a group of Tauros, Bayleaf, and Lucario, and a group of Sceptile and Kingler. It's worth mentioning that Slifer's Thunder Force attack is a lightning-based ability. I wonder if Ash was a little bit quicker, could he have got a ground type monster to try and absorb a bit of that damage or get another Pokemon to do something about this? It was very, very short notice, and obviously Egyptian god cards, very, very strong. It might be too overwhelming for some Pokemon to even be able to tank. So Just wonder. To counter Slifer, Ash Gigantamaxes his Gengar. With a beautiful Yu-Gi-Oh reference in the shadow, Gengar immediately obliterates Summon Skull, Buster Blader, and Celtic Guardian. That level of power would mean, translated to Yu-Gi-Oh, Gigantamax Gengar has an attack of 6,500 or more, since it wiped out 3 powerful monsters in a single attack. This is on brand for Gigantamax Gengar, as it is said that its giant mouth doesn't lead into its body, but straight to the afterlife. Afterlife? Death battle? Wait a minute, I've just realized you mean Shadow Realm battle, and that mouth leads to the Shadow Realm. You're killing people in this, are you? That's a 4Kids joke, I'm sorry. This dominance doesn't last long, as Yugi counters with the power of his Millennium Puzzle. He Ghostbusters Gengar, trying to suck it into the Millennium Puzzle. This act de-Gigantamaxes Gengar. Now, the reason why Yugi can do this, as well specifically against Gengar, is because Gengar is a Ghost Poison type, and Ghost types are weak to Dark types. Yugi wields the power of darkness, so it makes sense that he would have kind of a little bit of mastery and could attack this thing. Also, the Millennium Puzzle has the ability to seal a soul inside of it. That is what Yugi, Yami Yugi, Pharaoh attempt did many millennia ago. Sealed himself in there, so there's a bit of space in there, why not? Let's stuff Gengar inside of there. It's a one-off thing, you can only put one thing in there at a time, so yeah, it's fine. However, Ash is having none of this. He distracts Yugi by launching a toxic or sludge bomb attack using his Naganadel. Yugi is forced to defend himself, breaking off his Millennium Puzzle suction ability. Thus, Gengar is able to get away. Yugi is also temporarily blinded by this move. In the confusion, Ash orders his Greninja to sneak in and shatter the Millennium Puzzle. The play is successful. Yami Yugi is defeated. Now, this in theory might have been Ash's game-winning play, and everything that happens after this is just Ash, like, trying to figure out how to now beat the new threat that's about to appear. But it was very smart. It's a good move. By destroying that Millennium Puzzle, Ash has essentially cut Yugi off. Well, he thought he won the duel here, basically, because he assumed probably the Millennium Puzzle was the source of all of his powers, which is true. Now he can't bubble defend himself. He can't suck Pokemon or anything into his Millennium Puzzle. He can't do any more shadow magic or anything like that, and he can't will a card to the top of his deck, which he exactly needs. However, he is now about to be replaced with Little Yugi, original Yugi, who at the end of the series was an even better duelist than Yami Yugi. And so, the duel continues. Yugi enters the fray with his life points at a mere 250. Which could be a reference to Ho-Oh's Pokedex number. It's Yugi's move, and the penultimate move of the death battle. Believing in the heart of the cards, he draws and gets an absolutely cracked hand. He plays the spell card Monster Reborn to bring back a monster in his grave. He resummons the Dark Magician. He then summons by its side Dark Magician Girl. He summons his 2 other Egyptian god cards, Obelisk the Tormentor and the Winged Dragon of Ra, which, while technically Slifer and Obelisk are god level, the Winged Dragon of Ra, if this is god level, this is its god level. It's like a whole tier above them. And I'll be honest with you, with just these 3 Egyptian god cards on the field, personally, I think Yugi is set. They have a lot of utility with their abilities. For example, we've seen the majority of what Slifer can do. It can attack Pokemon that Yugi summons straight to the field. It can do devastating attacks. Obelisk has the ability to tribute 2 lesser monsters on the field to give itself infinite attack points. It can also destroy all monsters the opponent controls, however well that translates in this battle. So it'd be a slow, methodical destruction until it's interrupted, most likely. And then it can deal 4,000 direct damage to Ash's face. So a fist would come Ash's way, and if he can tank it, fair enough, but otherwise that is an instant KO. Winged Dragon of Ra is an even bigger threat. It has a big variety of abilities, but I think the most threatening thing that it has is its Phoenix Mode ability, where it is able to basically turn itself invulnerable to anything. It's completely invincible, and it can instantly destroy any one thing on the field. No ifs, buts, or coconuts, basically. So with that, he technically, by the way, it is also another sun god kind of thing. So Solgaleo and this are probably, they could be classed as on equal terms, maybe, but with Ra's unique ability to completely remove a monster, maybe it would defeat Solgaleo with just this, and the fact that Solgaleo would be unable to harm it in its Phoenix mode, Yeah. But it doesn't matter, because Yugi goes even further beyond. He fuses the 3 god cards together to summon the illegal to even play in the official card game, Horakhty, the creator god of light. This is an entity that created all of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters world, universe, and I assume it's multiversal worlds. There's at least 12 dimensions in the Yu-Gi-Oh! World, so this thing is very, very strong. This is probably the strongest thing in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! World. Its ability in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is if this thing hits the field, you win. That's it, you've just won the duel. The closest Pokemon counterpart to this monster would be Arceus, the creator god of the Pokemon world. I think if these two are on the field together, you would get a somewhat even clash. I do think Horakhty would scale a little bit higher, but it would make the fight a lot fairer. The fact that unfortunately Ash doesn't have the creator god of Pokemon in his arsenal is probably the big thing that's going to cost him this duel here. And so, with the power of the sun and all of Ash's remaining Pokemon going against a universe-creating deity, 2 spellcasters, and a mysterious face down, the battle ensues. Yugi uses his Sword of Revealing Light to stop Ash's Pokemon in their place, so he can finish them all in one final attack. Ash, in a dire situation, makes his final move of the death battle. Ash and Pikachu sync up with their aura. Ash and Pikachu cycle through all their iconic costumes over the years. By syncing up, Pikachu is able to use its ultimate Z-move attack, 10 million volt Thunderbolt, which deals devastating critical damage when it hits. And here is where Ash has made a big blunder. By either forgetting about, never noticing, or underestimating Yugi's set card, he has cost himself the death battle. Note, Ash has already experienced a Yugi trap card earlier in the duel, so he is aware of what those face down cards can do. And last time it happened, it was a redirected attack. So Ash has no excuse not to think that that card can't do the same. But that begs the question, well, what could Ash have done about it? Well, it's possible Ash could have used something prior to this to remove that set card. For example, a move like Rapid Spin removes entry effects like spikes, so maybe Squirtle could have cleared the way with that. Would we consider that an entry move? I would consider something like Solemn Judgment, where it stops the summon of a monster to be an entry level move. So I guess that wouldn't work, but does he have anything else he could use? Well, maybe a move like Defog, which Ash's Staraptor could have learned, has the ability to remove things like Light Screen, Safeguard, Mist, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Stealth Rock, and the one we care most about this battle, Reflect, from the opponent's side of the field. Which cards like Mirror Force and of course Magic Cylinder, they reflect attacks back at the opponent. So possibly this could have removed them. However, yet again, I don't believe Ash has any Pokemon that know the move Defog, so that probably wasn't available to him at the time. Could he have taught his Pokemon that before the battle? Yes. Does it require hindsight? Yes. So is it a misplay? No, it's not Ash's fault. But had he done this, perhaps it could have changed the outcome of the death battle. And so, since Yugi is being attacked while he controls a magician monster on the field, the requirements are met for him to activate his set trap, Magic Cylinder. The oncoming 10 million volt Thunderbolt is reflected back at Ash. Solgaleo, Ash's Pokemon, Pikachu, and Ash are hit with the combined might of Dark Magic Attack, Horakhty's attack, and Pikachu's Z move. They are all turned to stone in a homage to Pokemon the movie, which, yeah, would make even a grown man cry. I cried at the Pokemon movie, of course. Yugi gives his iconic thumbs up goodbye from Yami Yugi's final moments in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series. Yugi wins the death battle. First, I have to say, amazing work by Death Battle themselves. Incredible animation, incredible work, storytelling. Now, a lot of things that happen in this battle that I might not have mentioned are actually covered by Death Battle. I'm going to leave a link down below. They actually have a Q&A where they answer a lot of why did this work? Why wouldn't this work in the battle? I've looked at it. There might be some stuff that I've missed, so you can take a look at that afterwards. To answer the question posed today, yes, Yugi should have won this duel. Could Ash have won? I don't think so, even if he played more optimally in this battle. I think the only way Ash would have stood a chance was if at the very least he had 6 or more legendary Pokemon in his arsenal, as well as Arceus to match Yugi's god level monsters, which remember doesn't just consist of Obelisk, Ra, Slifer, and Horakhty. He also has the legendary dragons, the legendary knights, and their fused form, Timaeus the Knight of Destiny, which has the ability to have infinite attack points. And don't forget, Yugi also has access to Exodia the Forbidden One, which isn't as strong as Horakhty, but is strong enough to match the strength of essentially the Yu-Gi-Oh! Devils or Necrophase for a time. Maybe the reason Yugi couldn't use it in this battle was because it was lost in the sea, so he didn't have any more, so maybe it wasn't in his roster. I think if Ash was the type of trainer to utilize more potions, items, and status effects in his monster lineup, this might have helped him as well. A revive on a downed Pokemon would be pretty clutch, because I guess you can't use revives in gym battles in the anime. I actually don't know if that's true, but this is just a free-for-all, just battle in the wild. So yeah, I guess you could just spam these potions and revives and everything. And now I'll pose the question to all of you. If Yugi and Ash just threw straight hands, no Pokemon, who do you think would win? Want to watch me analyze some Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels? Well, I picked two great ones for you to watch here. Other than that though, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you later.